Health and happiness. What does it have to do with a happy hour? I tell you, it has to do with everything. I can't say just how much it has to do with everything. But this is the Health and Happiness Happy Hour. Welcome back. If you're on your tablet, phone, your computer, anywhere on any corner of the earth, you're at work hiding from your boss, you're hiding from a loved one, you just want to connect and see what's out there. You want to get informed. Welcome to this show. And today I have a brilliant guest. And of course, before we get into that, make sure to subscribe. Welcome. And again, good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. I am Rob from The Drunken Grape. And today I have a brilliant guest who is surviving cancer. He is a brilliant proponent of all things health and happiness and wellness. We're going to get into this. Welcome back, Jean-Guy. How are you doing, buddy? It's great to have you back on the show.
And likewise, my friend. Thank you, Rob. Thank you for the invite. Thank you for the conversation I'm looking forward to. And again, you're right. It's a beautiful day to be conversing today. And let's talk about health.
Yes, and of course, we've got the Streamwater shirts on. We'll get into that later. That was a big part of Jean-Guy's 41-day fast. He'll talk to you about that in this show. And of course, Streamwater, fantastic water company out of Ottawa, Canada. We'll get into a discussion of that as well. But health and wellness, Jean-Guy, let's get into it. You had a pretty big scare a few years ago with health. What happened exactly? I know you're fighting cancer. And
I'm fighting cancer.
Just walk us through the journey, because you have been on an incredible health and fitness journey for the last year and a half now, or 2 years.
Yeah. Well, Rob, if you look at my background, right, I was a professional instructor, hand-to-hand combat, chemical munitions. I worked in the field with corrections. I come from an upbringing that way. And I always tell people, if you look at my pictures of my youth, I had the abs, double bicep, but I wasn't internally healthy. I know that today. And as I progressed into my 40s, I was on multiple corporations, full-time with the government, the whole 9 yards. I gained weight, and I gained unhealthy weight, meaning internal fat and visceral fats now. And I hit a peak of 363 pounds. And like many in the Western lifestyle, what starts happening when you start getting to your 40s and 50s, your comorbidities start coming out, right? Like Kurt Plunk, you pull that needle and 6 marbles fall. Well, that's what started happening. 1 medication, 2 medication, 5 medications later. Chronic illnesses, chronic conditions, your knees, your hips, your back, arthritis, calcium tendonitis. And everything I'm telling you, it's MRI, CT scans, documented from my cholesterol pill, my heart medication, my inhaler, severe sleep apnea, taking sleep medication to help me sleep with the sleep apnea devices. It got ridiculous. Wow. It got ridiculous. And and no disrespect to the medical field, but at no given time did any medical professional truly discuss my internal health with me. It was me jumping over the fence, going into the integrative, holistic lifestyle precision medicine that I started learning about internal health. Hence, my heaviest was 363 pounds. And I tell people, and I lost 130 pounds average, but I tell everybody, don't be impressed by the fact that I lost 130 pounds. Be impressed by the fact that I never put it back on in nearly 5 years. I got rid of all my medical devices, right? I've gotten rid of chronic conditions like my knee pain. Like in the way I'm sitting right now, I wouldn't be sitting like that in the past, right? Going up the stairs, I used to breathe like you swear I had an elephant on my back. I can keep going on, but this is what I did, and I did so along the way helping others. Right? I made it my duty to continuously teach while I continuously learn. And I've helped people lose 50, 70, 100 pounds. How did I do so? At no given time did I ever discuss fat loss. It was all internal health. And then unfortunately, I got cancer. I got a high-risk mutation version of cancer, chronic lymphocytic leukemia, a version that was basically stage 3, 4 right off the hop, where the pharmacist himself, when he was on the phone with me, said they want you on this medication immediately. And it's basically stage 3, 4 right off the hop. So, it's and if you look at the prognosis, Rob, statistically, it's a 3 to 5 year lifespan. the type of cancer that I have. And I'm telling you right now, and I mark my word, that it's already been 2 years this March, that if you look at my biomarkers, it was March of 2022, that the clear indicators that I had cancer. And it wasn't caused by the vaccine, it was caused by COVID itself, and because of the lack of oxygen, and without getting into that, but I can prove all that, right? But it's been 2 years now, this March, that I know that I've had this cancer development, but I still train every day. I've augmented my lifestyle. I became a pescatarian plant-based.
Excellent.
On February 9th. Absolutely. On February 9th, after I got the results on February 8th, I got the call. I was in Mexico. I was on vacation. You get a call from the colonoscopy saying they found CLL. Well, the alarm bells start going off. Your mind starts racing at 100 miles an hour. So therefore, because I already had those 5 years of knowledge in my mind, that the studying and the precision medicine, lifestyle medicine, holistic medicine, integrative medicine, I knew what to do. So I automatically augmented and I raised the bar of health to a pescatarian plant-based. I even stopped alcohol. But I always tell people, remember, in those 4.5 years that I lost all that weight, I was still drinking, still going, having desserts, like that, but I did it a certain way. I did it in fasting, fitness, flexibility, nutraceuticals, nutrient dense, plant-based whole food lifestyle. And that's how I did it. And that's how I continue. If you looked at my blood work in the past, I should be on my ass, but I'm not. Right? I train every day. I'm 58 years old. I have abs, right? And I say that to them, but how do I do that? Because I'm focusing on internal health.
Yeah, that's really smart. Meanwhile, while we're here, I'm just trying to bring up a chart. It's kind of difficult here, but it's just trying to bring up a chart on optimal life expectancy. And you mentioned anything plant-based or fish-based, pescatarian diet, you're right at the pinnacle of life expectancy. If you go into blue zones, there's 5 or 6 of them on the planet. One is in Nicoya, Costa Rica. There's another one in Sardinia, the Isle of Crete, Okinawa, California. These are blue zones. There's parts of California that are a blue zone.
Yeah, the Seventh-day Adventist in Loma Linda, California. And again, and what I tell people, and when I sit with individuals, it has nothing to do, like even the blue zones, they've been identified because it was a marker that was the color of the marker that we were using when they do the study. But the blue zones are getting smaller. And why they're getting smaller? Because of Western influence, right? Your fast food chains, you look at parts of the world that they never had.
Garbage.
Absolutely. Like fatty liver disease, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease in children never existed pre-1970s, right? But there's a lot of conditions in the world, from your Alzheimer, your dementia, which is Alzheimer, it's now known. Outside of Western society, it's known as type 3 diabetes. They know it's due to consumption, right? So that I tell individuals, it has nothing to do with the geographical, the culture, the religion. It has everything to do the closest to the earth you consume. That's why when you talk about the longevity chart, the longest living on this earth, proven data research, are the pure plant-based. Below that is pescatarian plant-based. Below that is white meat pescatarian plant-based. Below that is your red meat, white meat pescatarian plant-based. Then it goes all the way down to your processed foods and et cetera. And there was a huge study done in Loma Linda, California, with the Seventh-day Adventists. And what they looked at is those that lived 100 years plus, or those that were pure plant-based. And then the below that was pescatarian plant-based. Below that, and so what they've proven is those that eat closest to the earth and live a vibrant lifestyle, active lifestyle, are those that live the longest. And when I say live the longest, vibrantly. Not Western society, that you're 50 years old and you're starting to go to mobility devices, you're on 6 pills a day. By the time you're 70, you can't even walk past go, right? So there's a big difference in living vibrantly, and dying longer.
Yeah, I remember I went through my health test not too long ago, 52. It was earlier this year. Or was I 51? I'm trying to remember. I know it was just after I turned 52. So it was earlier this year. I'm in my 53rd year of life, so I am 52. So I remember finally doing the fit test, to check your colon, to check your diet. Then, of course, my doctor, I went and saw him. They wanted to check prostate levels, cholesterol levels, ADL levels, liver values. Everything was very good. And he just even looked at me, so you're not even on meds. Like, how is this possible? I said, well, I was high average on ADL. I think it was like at 50. But that comes from supplements and other things too. It certainly wasn't alcohol consumption, because I always preach light to light, moderate alcohol consumption on this show. We talk health. let's get into the health aspects of alcohol for a minute. Some people are like, oh, I tell people to never drink again. Well, if you're an alcoholic, that's probably a really wise suggestion. But if you're not, why would you need to cut out alcohol completely? I would say just drink very healthy options. You can get into biodynamics with wine. You can get into clean crafted wines. Most of the high-end wines are clean crafted. They definitely don't put additives in it because all the high-end wines have to go through laboratory analysis and blind tasting exams every year to maintain their benchmark of typicity, especially if you get into DOCG wines or AOC wines in France or DOCG wines in Italy or Spain. These are basic metrics that happen. Beer's 90%, beer's 90% water. It's full of vitamins and minerals. Beer is a healthy alternative if you consume one or two of them in a sitting once in a while. We're not talking like binge drinking here, because we all know the ramifications and the toxicity of alcohol kicks in after a certain point. That is factual, but resveratrol, proanthocyanidins, antioxidants are rich in a lot of red wines. And I know you can add to this because you can talk all about clean crafted wines too.
But what I would add is that, and I tell individuals, remember, and I lost all that weight. I got rid of all the medication. I got rid of the medical condition while I was drinking alcohol. And when I encapsulate it with consumption, and when I look at consumption, within each category, there's a healthier category. And that's what I was telling individuals. I used to drink vodka keto. I used to drink vodka sparkling water. I used to drink the wine. I would look at the wines that had the least amount of sugar, zero residual sugars. I used to order my wine and again, the cleanest possible. There's wines out there that are closest to the plant-based, right? Without the 10,000 chemicals. And I say that exaggerately, but there's wines out there that have
without a ton of sulfur dioxide.
It's crazy the amount of toxins that are in certain wines, right? So that within each category is a healthier version of that category, right? It's like I tell people, you want dessert? Have dessert, but have it as dessert. Don't have it as a snack. You want to have chips? Have them as a dessert, not as a snack, right? It's the same thing with my alcohol. I used to have the highest consumption of the cleanest alcohol, right? And so there's ways of doing things in every category, right? Yeah, I tell people I don't eat processed, but water comes in an aluminum can. That's a processed product, right?
There's a lot to be said about a clean living diet. There's a lot to be said about fasting. Let's get into that, because in order to starve cancer out of your body, you went on. This is unbelievable, because I've read that, a 3-day fast reduces your risk of cancer by about 70% of ever getting it.
So that's a 7-day fast, right? So a 3-day fast resets your immune system. Yeah, 3-day resets your immune system. 7-day, this is Boston University studies, massive studies out there, is a 70% chance of reducing of ever getting cancer. Right? So when you start going beyond the 7 days, now let's just go by 5-day increments. You start regenerating your bone system, your nervous system, your skeletal system, your eyes, your brain, and then past a 30 days timeline on non-calorie causing, no calorie fasting, you start getting into the pineal gland. You start getting to the basically cleansing, right? You're resetting your entire body system. So I tell individuals that I did 41 days. I did not go in alone. And I say this sincerely. There's a massive studies out there. One of them, for example, Tommy Seyfried, a doctor in the U.S., he has 155 peer reviews. And there's Dr. Walter Longo. There's a whole list of individuals that I've wrote, and some of them wrote me back out of Italy, and et cetera. And what I found was that those that beat cancer the most is those that combine modern medication in combination with a very healthy lifestyle. But also the 155 peer review says that you got to bring your body to the highest ketone possible and the lowest glutamine as possible. But how the hell do you do that? And I already lived an extremely clean lifestyle, which I got rid of my lymph nodes, I got rid of my night sweats, I got rid of my random passing out. I've done miracles with my blood work, but how do I bring my body to the highest ketone, lowest glutamine as possible? Then the 40-day, 40-night kept coming to me. I swear it kept coming to me. Then I started studying it. And then I said that the reason why I did 41 days, I actually did 986 hours and 32 minutes, right? And the reason why I did that is because I wanted to ensure that I did 40 days, 40 nights. Do you know there's still cultures on this earth, meaning groups, brotherhood and sisterhood, that you cannot get into the brotherhood and sisterhood unless you do a 40-day fast? And the reason being, it's about the pineal gland. It's about the pineal gland. Sure. It's about opening the mind's eye, the whole 9 yard. And I'm going to tell you, Rob, after day 30, I had some very, very deep conversations. I went through 5 weeks of insomnia. I lost 42 pounds in 41 days. If I tell you, and everything was documented, data, urine work, blood work, every week, paid out of pocket research. I have 5 years of documented information, medical documented information from colonoscopies, endoscopies, from blood work, from urine work, from feces work, from MRIs, from CT scans. I've documented everything in the last 5 years. So when I did the 41 days, my last week, I had I want you to imagine yourself in the darkest, the biggest gymnasium you've been in or the biggest auditorium you've been in. I want you to shut all the lights and you can't even see your hand in front of you. And I want you to hear that echo. And I want you to put in front of you an arc welder. You can't see nothing other than an arc weld. And you can walk towards it. You're never going to touch it, never going to reach it, but it's always going to be there. It doesn't matter which direction you're looking at. There's always that arc weld. I was having a conversation. When I said I went through 5 weeks of insomnia, it was crazy. And my family, and I never removed myself. I didn't isolate myself. I didn't go to a retreat. I did it while living life, while still doing business now. And my wife would be concerned because I wasn't sleeping and all that stuff. But when I would pass out, it would be 2 to 4 hours like passing out. And those in-depth conversation, I was actually talking to my inner cells, to my own DNA. I was screaming at it saying, pardon my language, but fuck you're not, I'm going to rip every one of your cancer hooks out of me. And I was having spiritual conversation, I was speaking to God. I was having some very, very deep conversations. So now I understand that past 30 days or 40 days, the pineal gland, the decalcification. I truly understand that because I've never experienced that. I went through the body shakes. My body was frozen. My limbs were frozen. My feet, you could have put nails through it. I don't think I would have felt it. It was crazy. But I was never hungry. Spiritually, mentally, I was sound. I was never hungry. In fact, when my 41 days was up, I was so confident I was going to do 41 days that on October 31st at 8:15, I started a countdown timer on my app. And then the timer was set for December 11th at 8:15 p.m. And I didn't put food in my mouth until 8:47. I actually took a shower at 8:15. I took my time. Right. And then I came out and my wife had made me this very nutrient dense like soup that she put through the blender and everything. I only had 20 tablespoons of it. And the next day I started incorporating more the good foods, your avocados, your nuts, your eggs, the good food. Wow. But I wasn't hungry at all. Spiritually, mentally, I was sound. But physically, it was an interesting as I got closer to the 40 days. I went through the shakes.
I can imagine, man.
Limbs. Oh, it was very interesting. But, and then here's the thing. I told you I lost 42 pounds in 41 days. I also when on December 11th, when I broke my fast, I gained 25 pounds in 5 days. So I gained 5 pounds per day when I broke the fast. And I wasn't eating crazy. Wow. I was still fast. I have not fasted since June 3rd, 2019. My average is 20 hours. Wow. So even when I started consuming, I still maintained my 20 hours, but my calorie window wasn't much, but I gained 5 pounds a day.
That's crazy.
It is crazy, but
that's
if you
awesome.
Looked at my blood
it's a great
work,
journey. Sorry about the interruption. I was trying to play with this little portable light and it died on me. But anyway,
oh, no worries.
These are
even
great.
My oncologist,
you ever do a podcast? These are awesome. But you're an oncologist, so yes, let's get into it. What was the end result in lowering the cancer cells in your body?
Right now, like I'm going through some more tests for because I told you my lymphocytes now they were the size of golf balls under my armpit. So you want to talk about healthy living? On February 8th, I got the call that they found CLL in my biopsy. On February 9th, I told you I became a pure pescatarian, plant-based, whole food, no alcohol, nothing. Right? I did not start treatment until May 8th. So during that 3 months window, because I augmented myself to pescatarian, plant-based. My lymph nodes disappeared, my random passing out disappeared, and my night sweat disappeared just by raising my bar on nutrition. And so this is what I tell individuals, and I will debate any medical professionals. I've been studying this since 2017. I tell people I have over 10,000 hours, and I went so far down the rabbit hole. I passed China, and I went through Jupiter, and I still have a galaxy of knowledge to learn. Right. But I understand it. And I've not only in theory, but in practice. So where am I at? My blood work is really good. My biomarkers are really good. My goal is to go into so far into remission that they won't see it. A cancer that, again, right off the hop, I would state, if you look at my type of cancer, a chronic lymphocyte leukemia, high risk version mutation of it, that my switches are off. My gates are wide open. Somebody turned off the power and opened the white gate they're called zombie cells. Those zombie cells are continuously eating, right? So they're wide open. They're spread all over my body. I have it throughout my body. I had lymph nodes, my first testing and all that. I had lymph nodes throughout my body, inside my groin area, under my armpits, my stomach. I also had them externally in my neck and my arms and all that. That's all gone. My blood work used to be lit up like a Christmas tree. Like flag, 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 flag. Now there's times I only have one that's lit up, or 1, 2, 3 that's lit up. It always fluctuates. I had some very scary stuff, but it balanced out. Everything is balancing out. So now I'm continuously raising my bar on health, finding the very healthiest within the very healthiest. Like we talked about alcohol earlier, there's a healthier version within each category, right? There's healthier versions of fruits, there's healthier versions of meats, there's healthier versions of processed, right? So that's what I do while I do fasting, fitness, flexibility, right? Those are all tools that need to be combined together, right? In your toolbox, there's a whole bunch of tools you need it for your daily life, which we talked about what we're doing now, a conversation. We talk about brotherhood, going at peace before dinner. Whether you pray or go at peace, it is in the top 10s of longevity. The brotherhood and sisterhood and community and relationships in the top 10 of longevity, right? There's a strength training. And you're a very fit man. And I tell people younger than me, you're smarter than I because you started younger. And even though I used to be ripped and fit and professional hand-to-hand combat instructor, I was in riots. I was a riot coordinator. I was all that, a lot of professional accreditation and trainer. But I was still unhealthy because of the way I consumed. I built my comorbidities. It's my fault. It's my fault for following the Western lifestyle, right? I chose to go
the Western lifestyle is terrible. It's terrible.
Well, Western lifestyle is designed for medication, medical procedures, mobility devices, and dying longer, right? If anybody wants to be
death.
But dying longer, because death, your money stops, right? But if you're dying longer if your last 10, 20 years of life is mobility devices and medication, medical procedures, and et cetera, while you're continuing, and I tell people the average consumers in a Western society puts calories in their mouth 10 to 21 times a day. That's statistically out there. And people say 10, 21 times a day. I go, that's your muffins, that's your protein bar, that's your whatever, that's your drive-through coffees that are filled with creams and calories. So you're putting calories in your mouth 10 to 21 times a day. That means you're never allowed the cleaning crew to clean. Imagine never cleaning your office, never cleaning your car, never cleaning. So that's what you're doing to your body. That's why the Western lifestyle. And what also happens when you put calories in your mouth 10 and 21 times a day? You're paying fees and taxation, right? So that's why they never stop it. You're a taxation revenue machine. You're an obesity machine. You're an unhealthiness machine. You're a medication machine. You're a medical device machine. You're a medical procedures machine. You're a mobility machine, right? So if we, as a barcode, as a human being, if we can make money on you that way for 30 years, the system loves you. Right? So
it's fucking crazy when you think about it. It's nuts. And you're right. Like I did some subtle shifts, to support a lot of what you're saying. I cheated in a couple times in the last month with cream in my coffee and that, but I largely drink coffee black or add a little honey to it now to sweeten it. I can tell you digestion
all the time.
Digestion has skyrocketed for the better, eliminating a lot of the dairy, even if it's lactose free. It's still pasteurized and processed, and that's what murders you. I eat a lot less meat. I go meatless for days on end now, and the fact that I'm mostly a pescatarian, vegetable, plant-based diet.
But even meat, Rob, you mentioned meat. I tell people there's nothing wrong with meat, but eat your most nutritious of meat, meaning your grass fed, your non-hormonal, the average cattle. What do they double the size before it gets slaughtered? How do you double something size, right? With chemicals,
steroids,
right? Exactly. So I go, that's not healthy. Go to your locally sourced. Get your locally sourced honey. Get your unpasteurized honey. There's your farm fish and your Pacific wild fish. Two different categories, right? So look at the ingredients if you're going to buy processed, right? I haven't had sugars like years, right? I'm going to call it refined processed sugars. I get my sugars from my fruits. I get my sugars from my honey. I get my sugars from naturally, and the medical conditions disappear and dissipate. How did I do that? How did I get rid of the chronic knee issues, the hip issues, the back issues, or dissipate them, or arrest them? How did I get rid of the medication, the medical device, and the severe sleep apnea? Rob, I had internal bleeding, if I want to get personal. How did I make that disappear? Right? So this is what I'm telling people. I did that by living a healthier lifestyle, and I did that by jumping the fence and go to integrative, holistic, precision lifestyle medicine. I educated myself. I have 10,000. I love that world. I love learning about it. I love teaching it. I love talking about it. And and I've helped people lose 50, 70, 100 pounds. And what's more interesting about that, Rob, it's friends of friends. It's brotherhoods and sisterhoods that call me and say, can you help my sister? Can you help my brother? Can you help? I've had people show up at my door. I've had people crying in my basement. I've had one-on-ones, and today I've had an email, and I posted about it not too long ago. A gentleman it was a friend of a friend. I got to tell him all the time, when you're ready, when you're honest with yourself, I will sit with you, but give me 3-4 hours. And when I do so, an individual responded to an email that I sent him a year and a half prior, and he wrote me and he said, I'm down 100 pounds. Right? I've had individuals down 70 pounds, and at no given time did I ever discuss fat loss.
Wow. What about this product? Our friends at Streamwater. This is the happy hour. This is what we're drinking today, ladies and gentlemen. We are booze exempt today. It does happen sometimes on the shows, but I'm going to talk about liquid gold. I'm talking about clear gold on the planet. That is your water supply. I'm going to do a little bit of a pitch here, but it's really important to understand, ladies and gentlemen, that water is the most critical thing you can consume. It is what you consume naturally the most of, what you need the most of. You can go a month without food, but you cannot go a month without water. You'll be dead.
100%.
You'll be dead within a day or two without water. So Streamwater, 7.7 pH level. The higher the pH level, the more alkaline. It's in tune with your body's natural state of alkalinity. It's full of magnesium, calcium, potassium, very important things that comprise part of the electrolytes of water. It's a clean source of water. It's an excellent source of water. Talk about the Stream KETO. You are one of the engines behind this product, actually, and this is through your health company. So talk to us a little bit about that. So talk to us a bit about this amazing product and how people can get a hold of it. And it actually tastes quite good. Like for a keto beverage, this is quite tasty. I've had this numerous times. I got a can right here. Very good. The sparkling spring water. So, before we begin and get into that, I just want to do a shoot to Streamwater. You've got... I'm just going to shoot up their website briefly. The beauty of Riverside FM, the software tool we're using for this podcast, and big shout out to them too, is you can actually share a site. So there we are, Jean-Guy. Here it is, Streamwater. Talk to us a bit about Streamwater and talk to us a bit about what you're doing with them and how this keto water actually helped you on your 41-day fast, which, by the way, is incredible. I can't believe you actually went through it, but that in itself is just an amazing journey.
So I'm going to talk about Streamwater in the sense of water in itself. You just mentioned this, right? Who are we as human beings? Carbon. We're basically carbon. We're primarily water, brain, body, and mind. We're basically water. Number two, clean water. If you look at the earth, if you look at people that, if Western society, we have unhealthy consumption lifestyle, but we have clean water for the most part, right? We have access to clean water. And a lot of the parts of the world, even though they eat extremely healthy, they have real fruits, real vegetable, real everything. Some of the things they die from is unhealthy water, right? And so when you look at Streamwater, and you mentioned their pH balance and their mineral, and you can go to their website, and on there, you could actually pull up their minerals. It is almost I'm going to say perfect water. If you look at pound for pound, dollar for dollar, water to water on this earth, it is a perfect water to consume. And it's the only water. Absolutely. And it was the only, my entire study, and I said everything that I did in those 41 days, Streamwater was the only water that I consumed the entire 41 days. And I say that because in life, I go to restaurants and they'll have their own water and that kind of stuff. Or you go to restaurants that do have Streamwater, like Streamwater is in restaurants, is in like whenever I go to a restaurant, and you can see on their website, the restaurants that have their waters in, or the National Arts Center, or the Farm Boys, that kind of stuff. So you can purchase their water, but it's the water that I consumed for data. I wanted to raise my body to the highest ketone, lowest glucose, glutamine. I wanted to do the most healthiest. And I mentioned a moment ago, you have the higher version, the healthier version within each category. Well, Streamwater is the healthiest version when you look at water, consumption of water. It's a water that they do not use plastic, right? They refuse to use plastic. And if you do any studies, the basics of studies on plastic and the microplastics in water, it has become crazy. It doesn't make sense now.
It's terrible. It's horrible.
It's in human beings' bloodstream now. The microplastics, right, are in human beings. So again, raising my bar all the time, and hence why I'm not on my ass, and hence why I'm training every day, even though my chronic conditions and my cancer, etc. So then go to the keto. The keto, I've been doing this formulation for 5 years straight, every single day.
Yeah, and I got the keto on a Glenfiddich. I got it in a Glenfiddich Scotch glass. You got to love that, eh? But this is awesome water.
It is. I'm telling you, it also, the formulation puts you to ketosis regardless of the diet, including carbs. But the science behind that keto formulation, which is a Health Canada peer-reviewed, patented formulation, it also stated in the science when I was reading it 5 years ago that those that live a healthier lifestyle, it augments your results. So then I told him, okay, That's how I broke my fast every day. So every day for 5 years straight, religiously, I've been breaking my fast. The first solids in my body has been my supplementation with my ketosis every single day. So it has been part of my tool. Remember my toolkit I talked about earlier? It has been part of my health journey toolkit.
Your fitness, your fasting, your pescatarian diet,
so that ketosis,
your keto water.
And that keto water was part of my 41-day. Remember the Fit 155 peer reviews? Bring your body to the highest ketone as possible. So during those, remember I told you my blood work, urine work every week? It was the first time that I've had flagging of the highest level of ketosis ever. In those 41 days, it was consistent. I'm telling you, the blood work was the urine work was consistent, highest level of ketosis. So I brought my body to the highest level of ketosis. And glucose, how do you do that? I had no food for 41 days. I had no fruits. I had nothing, right? So I brought my body down to the lowest glucose possible and the highest ketone. How did I do that? With that product right in your hand, right? The keto formulation, the Streamwater. So I have the very best of water. I have a patented, third-party reviewed, Health Canada approved formulation in ketosis. That's what I was doing. And I've been doing that product for 5 years. I used to do it in the powdered format. Now it's in that liquid, ready to go. And it's also a pre-workout. It's an energy booster. It clarifies the mind. And you're gonna without the toxicities, without the sugars.
Well, I'm going to the gym after this, so that's a boost and a half, isn't it?
That's exactly what it is.
Sugars. Zero sugars, and it's delicious.
It's delicious. It's healthy. That's what, again, raising your bar of healthiness, right? I tell individuals, how did I get rid of the 130 pounds and then everybody put it back on? I've only fluctuated 10 to 15 pounds in 5 years. How did I do that? How did I get rid of the medical conditions? How did I get rid of the medical devices? How did I do that? I did it this way. I keep raising my bar on healthiness. So people out there that are drinking these energy drinks, that are heart attack drinks, that are sugar drinks, that are diabetic drinks, basically, right? This is the healthier version. When you look at extreme, it's completely on the other side of the scale on healthiness, on clarity of the mind, on a pre-workout. Like I've had individuals tell me, like, I take it first thing in the morning. Wow, it wakes me up, right? I go, because it puts you into ketosis. That's why your body either burns sugar or burns ketosis. If you look at a lot of these diets and lifestyle that people have done before and they bring their body up to ketosis, what do they always tell you? I thought differently. My brain was more like, you get more alertness, you get more clarity of the mind. It's in the data.
Yeah, well, one thing I've noticed is when I don't eat processed foods or junk, and if I'm not cheating on my diet and I'm going for the day, because we all have cheat days and I regret them. I mean, your bowels, your digestion, everything's way off. And when I go back to now that largely pescatarian diet, digestion's better, energy levels are better, recovery from my workouts are better. I see people dropping with flus and colds around me all the time. I almost never get sick. I mean, the benefits are colossal. Now, add that into fasting, because I want to do the fasting journey soon. I'm scared to see how much of weight I'm going to lose, because I naturally don't really have much fat to begin with.
But you get it back, though.
About as lean as I can get. Right. So I'm going to turn into a stick in 7 days. No,
you won't.
I tell you.
I promise you won't. But what you're going to do is get rid of your visceral fat, your internal health. That's why I tell individuals, here's the most dangerous fat that we have, the fat that encapsulates your organs, right? It's the visceral fat. But it's also the first fat to disappear and dissipate when you start going after internal health. So this is why you hear about your dirty vegans, right? They're vegetarian. They call themselves vegetarian and vegans, but all they eat is processed food. They're filled with visceral fat.
Unhealthy.
Or the fit fats, right? People with abs and everything, but all they eat is processed food. They're unhealthy internally. They're filled with visceral fat. That's why you'll hear the 40-year-old marathon runner dies of a heart attack. Yeah, but when they do, you remember the body exhibit? It was called Course. I think it was the Spaniards. They went around and they had all these bodies and they had them opened up, and very, very interesting. That's where it opened my eyes. And they would have a biography on that individual. People that donated their body to science, and they had a biography, and they would tell you about their lifestyle, but it basically told you this individual is filled with visceral fat because of their consumption, right? So the fasting, the fasting,
it's true.
The fasting, Rob, the Nobel Medicine Prize on autophagy. It is proven. It's a self-cleaning oven. I ask every human being, I want to ask this question. Do you know what autophagy is? Autophagy, self, you know what that is. 99% of all humanity has no clue. But you know what I tell individuals then, would you ever buy a piece of equipment without an operation manual? So why are you as a human being without your operation manual? Because it's part of your DNA, it's part of your system, and autophagy is your self-cleaning oven, right? It allows, when you go into fasting periods, when you give yourself breaks in between, it allows your body to process and clean. And that's what it's doing. It cleans your visceral fats, it cleans your bad protein cells. You can't, Yeah,
and I noticed when I switched off meat and there was like an 18-day stretch without meat, my body was cleaning itself out almost on the clock, like religiously. It was weird, like energy boosted. And I guarantee that in itself, by a change of diet, must have eaten up some of that visceral fat that was within me without me even being aware of it. Because you lose a little bit of weight, but you don't really lose any size. So where's that weight coming from?
Well, what you're doing also is you're enhancing your muscle mass, right? You're enhancing your core strength. When you combine that with fasting, fitness, and flexibility, that's what I call my lifestyle, right? And the consumption of, if you look at those, again, the reason being though that longest living, you're plant-based, do you know that it's literally impossible if you truly live a pure plant-based lifestyle not to get all your proteins in a day? It's literally impossible. So people that say
I read that.
They're vegetarian, but they all eat is processed food. If you truly live a pure plant-based, the real plant-based, not your giant strawberries that are grown with gases that are white on the inside that have no flavors, that's not a strawberry, right? That's sold for color and size. When I'm talking real food, I'm talking your healthiest versions of your berries, your blackberries, your cruciferous vegetables. Preparation, don't boil the hell out of them, and you're killing all the. This is why I get frustrated. I go to healthy restaurants and they're deep frying their tofu, or they're like, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't make sense. So if you truly live, if you truly understand, and this is when I sit with individuals and I explain all these things. I tell individuals, I want you to go to Costco, go to any retail store, put $100 on a counter and leave with $20 of food. Would you do that? Or go to a fuel station, put $100 on a counter and leave with $50 of fuel. Would you do that? Well, that's what you're doing with your consumption, right? You're putting consumption in your mouth that has no value. It has no nutrient density. And the more nutrient dense you consume, the less you consume while getting healthier. Proven data. And I still enjoy restaurants. I still enjoy various social life. I never feel deprived, right? And it's so I tell individuals, you save money, but you get better quality. So I go to family restaurants, right? I go to restaurants where I know they make their own food. I know they have passion in their food. There's restaurants out there, they're real vegetables, they're real everything, right? So they put passion in their food. Just like I raise my bar on nutrition, I raise my bar on my choice of restaurants. So you eat higher quality while saving money.
Yeah, and that's really smart. And it's there's no price tag on health. I mean, I think most people don't even supplement properly. They go take Centrum vitamins. It's all full of chemicals and crap, or Jameson. Like, if you're going to supplement as well, this is all part of the health and happiness happy hour. Take proper supplements out there. You know, Progressive's a good company. Greens Plus is an excellent company. That's a company I've been using forever in powdered form. All these phytonutrients and multivitamins in powder form. This stuff all augments your health. You take this stuff every day. You eat pretty well. You drink ample water. You stay away from sugar and junk. Sugar is probably the most toxic thing that you can pump into your system.
Addictive. It's addiction.
You're going to live a lot longer and a lot better. Absolutely. And the system is built to make you addicted to it. You know, and I notice when I eat one M&M, for instance, chocolate-covered peanuts, love them. They're not good for you. You don't have one. You
try to stop at a handful, right? Try to stop at a handful. And one of the things you mentioned phytonutrients a moment ago, and I tell this in individuals. They talk about the tomatoes in Italy, or the peaches in Uruguay, or the apples in September. I tell individuals what you're tasting is phytonutrient. The more closest to the earth, like I mentioned a moment ago, the more nutrient dense, which means it's the healthier version of. The less chemicals, the healthier, the close to the earth. What you're tasting is phytonutrients. Those strawberries I mentioned a moment ago, the giant ones you get in the store that are white in the inside, and you taste that strawberry that you pick at your local farmer in the springtime or in the summertime when you go to a farmer and buy those. They're delicious, right? And everybody goes, oh, my God, those strawberries. They're red, number one. Two, they're full of juices and full of flavoring, right? Because they're real. That's the difference. So the phytonutrients, that's what I tell individuals. That's what you're tasting. Absolutely. Yeah. But the more you live like that, Rob, the more you get rid of medical conditions, the more you get rid of diseases, the more you get rid of medication. And so, again, the Streamwater, it's that your water is your – here's the thing, too, about water. Every single day for 5 years straight, the first thing in my body is water, clean water, right? I add my apple cider vinegar to it. I'll add my creatine monohydrate. And everything that I add, my electrolytes and that, are 0 calorie, flavorless, colorless, and I just add it to it, right? So, but water is the first thing in my body. And every single study, whether religious study, whether culture study, whether even on the Western lifestyle side, or even on the integrative precision medicine side, water is the first thing that you should be starting your day with. And people that have a problem with bowel movements, I say, start with 2 liters of water, right? Every day, your bowel movements will dissipate, right? Because that's your system. You got to start. So I start with, I tell people, and room temperature water, right? So I have my 2 liters in the morning. I start my day with that I drank coffee for years. I drink only decaf coffee or chicory coffee. But I do not start with coffee. I start with water. First thing in my body is water.
Yeah, that's the first thing I do too. It's smart. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's smart. Like, again, I love coffee. I'm a coffee lover. But you know, the first thing I will have is a full glass. But I'll have a full glass of water before I make my cup of coffee. It makes a world of difference. I find that I'm reset. And if I get up in the middle of the night, my mouth's dry, what do? I have some water. Hydrate yourself. Stay hydrated. It is critical. This is something you can't skimp on.
Your body's primarily water. Your brain is primarily water. Do you know that your brain doesn't absorb anything but nutrient density? You can feed your brain 100% of something, it will only absorb nutrient density. Why do you think we have so much mental illness in this world now? Why do you think that if you look at Western society, and I don't want to get into the details of the types of mental illness, but if you look at the primary consumption, the overwhelming primary consumption in Western society is some form of processed, something ultra processed, ultra refined. Look at the level of mental illness. Look at the level of medical conditions. Look at the levels of new conditions that never existed pre-1970s. Why is that, right? It's all the consumption. It's the overwhelming majority of all chronic illnesses and diseases are due to consumption. That's in your government, that's in your private, and that's your public data.
It's wild. So,
it is wild.
We're going to wrap up the show, but this is wild. And get educated, people. Reach out to Jean-Guy. I'm going to have his email address in the show notes. As well as Jean-Guy, how do they get a hold of this amazing product?
Well, right now you're holding the new prototype, the canned product that'll be on the stream site. We are going to be doing some shows now. It's all going to be coming. So follow Streamwater, and the information will be coming out. Right? It's again, I've been doing the powdered version for years, the beta testing for years, but the ready to drink, the RTD, it will be available very shortly. But reach out to me, like Rob said. I'll put my contact details on there. Reach out, send me a text, send me an email. Go to Streamwater. We'll keep you posted.
Yeah, and everything comes in can or glass too, no plastic. So they get away the microplastics that absorb in your system. I'd imagine the microplastics would take forever to get out of your system once they're in your system. But I'm sure we all have it, but why add to it? So stick to the can, stick to the glass. Streamwater just sitting over my shoulder here right beside the bottle of Pinot Noir, red bottle of Pinot Noir wine, Norman Hardy over my shoulder here. Excellent product. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for paying attention today. Thank you for tuning in. We'll have this broken up in chapters for those of you that cannot watch, an almost 48 or 49-minute broadcast all in one sitting. We'll segment it so you can catch your favorite parts of what's informative to you. But absorb this. If you have diabetes, diverticulitis, if you have gastrointestinal issues, you have cancer, a whole host of other ailments, psoriasis, things like this. Look at what you're consuming, because I guarantee a change in lifestyle and a change in consumption is going to have a massive change in outcome. The definition of insanity, keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result. Not going to happen. Whatever you decide to do, ladies and gentlemen, not going to happen. Have a terrific day on behalf of Jean-Guy and Rob from the from the Drunken Grave. Thank you for tuning in, and God bless.